Hello again. Good afternoon. To talk about the work we're doing in AlUla to develop our best practice in collecting and conservation standards. So, there we go. AlUla, probably not many of you know where AlUla is. It's in the northwest of Saudi Arabia, about 200 kilometers east of the Red Sea. So it is. Does it work? Oh, there we go. So it's kind of this region here. So it's classified as a desert, but it's not like a desert you'd imagine, like the Sahara. There's a huge variety of landscapes and a range of environments and ecosystems within it. So you have, we've got lovely metamorphic, mouse isn't working. Oh, there we go. Metamorphic mountains and igneous mountains in the south, and then sandstone outcrops and ridges up north, and then a huge basalt lava. So quite cool place. It does get quite hot in summer, a little hot in Stoke. About 50 degrees in the summer, so it's crazy hot actually. And then in winter, it's probably more like it's about 11 degrees, so quite chilly. So the Royal Commission for AlUla. So the Saudi Vision 2030 was developed in 2016, and the aim was to improve the healthcare, the education, infrastructure, and the tourism in Saudi Arabia by 2030. Hence the name Vision 2030. So some of the mega projects are focusing on renewable energy, and others are focusing on tourism and the preservation of internationally important heritage sites. And AlUla is one of these areas, which has been developed to global tourist destination. So the Royal Commission for AlUla is similar to a local council in the UK. So it's a similar structure. So as well as departments for education and transport, we have a large heritage department that looks after all our wonderful old heritage. And we also have a really big growing wildlife and natural heritage department that's studying and protecting the wildlife and the geology as well now. So the archaeology is actually quite amazing. I don't know if anyone's seen anything from AlUla. So this is one. These are two of the tombs at Hegra. So at Hegra, it's similar to Petra in Jordan. It's built by the same people. So about 2,000 years ago, the Nabateans carved these beautiful tombs into the sandstones, into 500 million year old sandstones at Hegra. They're part of the trade route through the Arabian Peninsula. And this is actually the first site in Saudi Arabia to be designated UNESCO World Heritage Site. And there are hundreds of other archaeological sites scattered around the region, from 3,000-year-old cities with tombs carved into the cliffs to more individual settlements that have shown how people have lived here for thousands of years, thousands. And this is Dan, the ancient city of Dan. And it was only recently, probably about 10 years ago, when it was opened up to researchers. So everything here is quite new, and we're only just learning about the archaeology. And as we found out in a second from my colleague, we're only just learning about the botany and zoology of the land. So as the archaeology is such a big thing, and it's beautiful, and we're learning so much about it, but all the collections in the AlUla Museum focus on archaeology. All the policies, all the protocols, everything is focusing on archaeology. And with our big growing wildlife and natural heritage team, and a big need to record and understand the wildlife because it's never been studied before as well, so it's quite a unique position. So there's a real strong need to revisit policies and develop new ones. I'm going to quickly pass you over to my colleague Mohammed, who's going to briefly go over a few projects that we're doing, and here's probably Saudi Arabia's greatest botanist.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for the organizing committee for accepting our talk today. I will just I want to take you through the conservation work as ongoing in Saudi Arabia and AlUla counties. So I will go through first in general about the conservation work in Saudi Arabia. So we have two ambitious initiatives in Saudi Arabia, Saudi Green Initiative and also the Middle East Green Initiative. We are targeting to protect more than 30% of the entire of Saudi Arabia, which is about 2 million square kilometer, the size of Saudi Arabia. So imagine that 30% of this area is a protected area. In the Royal Commission for AlUla, we are also contributing to these two initiatives by protecting wildlife and enhancing or regenerating the ecosystem there. And the reason why we are planning to establish National History Museum is about to conserve and document all of the native resources, fauna and flora in AlUla. As you know, here in UK, you have many museums. In Saudi Arabia, you have only one national museum. We are trying to build more and more of the National History Museum. One of them will be in AlUla, and also to store all of the local specimens in AlUla region. So our research in AlUla, we are doing intensive research for studying all of the native flora and fauna right down to the genetic level. So we did the DNA library for all of the native species. We have more than 800 native flora species, more than 287 fauna species. This is just in 1 year. We are doing also continuous surveys for these fauna and flora species in AlUla County. And as you see, we surveyed the mammals, birds, invertebrates, also fauna. The botanical collection now in AlUla, we have herbarium specimen, and we have, as I told you, a DNA collection library. We have digital collection as well. And we are trying to find more collection of the lichens, fungi, algae. Maybe most of you will think that we don't have fungi or algae or lichens in the desert, but believe me, we have a lot of species, and we have mushrooms as well. So yes, we are targeting to collect more of these species, and we have also a collection of seed bank species. We collect from 70 species, native species for the seed bank collection that we use in our regeneration project, because we are targeting to plant more than 10 million trees in AlUla County as part of the Saudi Green Initiative to plant actually 1 or 10 billion trees in Saudi Arabia by 2030. So also the geology, we have a gap in studying geology in AlUla County. So the geology has not been studied in AlUla since very long time. But now with our experts in AlUla and Jan Freedman here, he's studying the rocks and the sedimentary rocks and volcanic areas and lichens associated to these type of rocks. So we are doing this work here for the geology, for the fauna, for the flora, to protect, to document, to utilize this information for the community awareness for the next generation, and protect it actually for the next generation, visitor to AlUla, because we are trying to make it as well the tourism or world-class tourism destination for all world. And this will lead us why we are collecting. I told why we are collecting. How and what procedures should we follow is about, that's what my colleague Jan Freedman is going to talk about, the procedures and standards and policy we need in AlUla. Thank you very much.
Very much, Mohammed. So we're doing lots and lots of collecting, which is really amazing because it's the first time it's been studied and the first time people are going out to look at the animals, the rocks and the mushrooms as well. But what about when they come back? Well, so we're collecting all this stuff, but we need procedures in place for when they come back, so we store them. So conservation as a whole is quite a young science in Saudi Arabia, and there's only less than 10 conservators, apparently, specialising in archaeology and art conservation across the whole country, which is not great for natural history. I should say, sorry, actually, Chris Collins was supposed to be here, but unfortunately couldn't make it, so he is natural history background. And support for the preservation of natural history collections is limited to research departments at a couple of small universities. So there's no unified standards in Saudi Arabia for the preservation of natural history collections or collecting procedures and policies. So while we can use generic standards, the environmental conditions in AlUla with the beautiful warm temperatures mean that the materials are stable in different environments than they might be in the UK. So what we're doing is developing standards and best practices to ensure that we can maximise the data we preserve from all these collections that we are doing. So this is a really new thing as well. So in January, we had a workshop in Paris, which brought together experts and partners to review how and why we're collecting. So what's the point? Are we actually doing something, and is it valuable for research and education? And also how we preserve the new and unique collections we're developing. So the collections reflect changing ecological environments in AlUla, and they'll also be able to help record any impact on work that's going on, because it's a region the size of Belgium. There's lots of projects happening and lots of work going on, and we want to make sure like the wildlife isn't affected as much as possible. So we have a couple of other workshops on best practice collecting and developing standards for DNA preservation and storage. 2 minutes, goodness. So we don't properly manage all these collections up to now coming in. It's really new things for the last year or year and a half starting to collect things. If we don't properly manage them, then they're going to be lost for future, as we all know, because we work in museums. So we are in quite a good position because we're starting from scratch. So we're not working from old policies and people tell us how we should be doing it. We are developing the standards ourselves, which is really good. Aaron, who's talking about seed banks. So we're doing a few, we're looking at standards in Europe and America, and we're not using those standards because the standards are different depending on the environment that you're in. So similar to Darren, we've visited these places and reading the best practices, but taking what we need from them. So there's no point in building a cathedral if all you need is a shed for your seeds. If it's seeds, love seeds. Seeds are brilliant. So we're just beginning. It's only just beginning to do it, and the timing is perfect because we are in the process of building a new collections facility, which should be completed in 6. And it will provide new storage for collections. And originally it's mainly focused on archaeology collections, but very recently this year we've made sure it's going to include natural history collections. So the storage facility now will have best practice storage approaches for botanical, zoological and geological collections. So within that building is also going to be a conservation preparation facilities dedicated to natural history collections, which is really good as well. And that would help us carry out research into best practices and more research into how natural history collections can be affected in the Arabian Peninsula, the climates. And also we are hoping, we are doing actually in a storage in that new facility as well. So all of this times up. All of this is really at the very beginning, but like Darren mentioned about visiting those places, workshops, I mentioned a few workshops, and like NatSCA conferences like this, a really good way for us to talk to people about what they're doing and then bring back things that will benefit us. So it's really important. This is just the beginning. Hopefully, we're hoping soon. Sorry, Laura. Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, Mohammed, please do come up.
Hello. Yeah. It's a question about using archaeology collections for past environments. Yeah, so we do have. So there's a French team, AlUla.
Yes,
Yeah, you do,
for
you do.
the archaeobotany, yes, we have interesting findings for the archaeobotany in the heritage site in AlUla, especially in Higra, the Nabatean kingdom and the Danian kingdom. We found a lot of interesting species that have been cultivated or used by the ancient people there. So you will find a lot of publications by
So we have a French partnership team who we have researchers come over and they study all these different sites and they're expanding their studies into ancient environments as well. Yeah,
I will share with you the link later.
good question.
Oh, yes, one online.
Is anyone collecting and classifying meteorites? It should be me.
Are you
I don't know. I've only been there since November, and if I find any meteorites, yes, I would.
I have a question.
Ooh.
I will put it into the microphone. Are there other museums that you've was it maybe the museum in Paris that have other collections from the region already, so historical collections from that region, and you are maybe looking at them, imaging them, digitizing them so that they're available?
Good question. So because it's quite a new thing in AlUla, and the museum in AlUla was mainly archaeology. And we have had researchers over who have collected, and they've asked for it in a few different museums, like in Paris, I think it's in Geneva. So we're talking to those museums about either bringing them back once we've got storage, proper storage, or imaging them and it's like 6 mics, or imaging them and getting them online so they're accessible for anyone, even people all over the world. Yes.
Excellent. We've got time for maybe one quick question if there is one, but not. Sorry. Yes, one more. Claire's getting such a workout today.
Thanks for the talk. Just looking at emissions, looking at the polyamide lichens. Can you see about like who you work with and how you can classify and store them?
So if you could repeat the question. Do you have anyone that specializes in the fungi and lichens, and how are you sort of storing them and preserving them? Is that right? Oh, classifying them.
Exactly. We start this process very early, and we have we have expert in fungi, but we are looking for an expert in lichens. Still, we didn't identify the lichens, but we have like certain species we found, but we don't know what is this species. So we are looking to find an expert to identify them. Yes, but for fungi, yes, we found an expert.
So it's a good question, because Mohammed and I are going out to the field soon to map the different lichen on the different geological outcrops. So if anyone knows a good lichen expert, please let me know as well, because so lichens in Saudi Arabia haven't really been studied a lot at all. So it's probably there could potentially be new species as well.
Okay, thank you very much.